My name is Bilal. I work on AI at Databricks. So I spend kind of most of my time thinking about agents from two sides, what developers actually want and what keeps IT admins up at night. And turns out like these two things are in direct conflict. Developers really love the freedom. They want to use the tool, right tool for the specific task, and no matter what that tool is. On the other hand, admins want control. They want visibility, they want security, they want like cost controls. And turns out, like right now, these both things are in conflict. Every cloud vendor, every open source framework, every model provider is shipping like coding agents. And we have like a very great, rich ecosystem. There's like Claude Code, Gemini, Cursor, a lot of like open agentic harness tools, open code. And every week it kind of like seems like new agentic harnesses coming out. And honestly, a lot of them are great. Like they're adding like real value. And we keep hearing from customers that they actually have increased productivity. And finally, we are actually seeing that coding agents are the thing that's actually making it real. And internally, inside Databricks, we actually are seeing like AI users are merging 60% more PRs. Everybody's actually writing code at Databricks and shipping. We're shipping. Everybody's shipping, and the industry kind of has grown from almost zero to like multi-billion dollars in departmental AI coding in just a year. So many times we do see that enterprises would mandate using a certain coding agent, but the way kind of like developers think is that they want to use like one tool for code authoring, another for code refactoring, and then another for one for code review. And I'll give you my example. Like I use like a bunch of coding agents. Like I use a combination of Claude Code and Cursor for coding, Lovable for prototyping, Open Code for product management work, and then I use Spy for running like asynchronous scheduled workflows. And I know I'm not the only one. I see a lot of people like using even more agentic harnesses with a lot more variety than me. As a developer, it's also a little bit of overwhelming to use different tools because all of these tools kind of need like some sort of like resources. Like, first you need to be able to connect to models. Then you need to have a way to be able to connect to your external services through MCP. Then you need some way to like reuse or share these runtime behaviors that you can do with plugins or skills, and then you need memory. And when you onboard to a new agent, you actually have to manage all of like these pieces independently. So onboarding to a new coding agent is not that simple. You really need to be able to have some sort of infrastructure that you need to be able to like maintain. And that's really the sprawl that developers see. Now, if you are an admin, things are even more miserable on your side. Like every time a developer picks a coding agent, this means like you need to do like a new one vendor contract. You need to onboard like a new admin console. There's like a new billing metering. You have to do legal review. You need to like manage the security of the setup. So it gets like really really overwhelming, and that's why we see like a lot of enterprises are reluctant to onboard all of these like multiple coding agents. And that's like, and beyond these like kiosks, there's like a real security concern underneath all of it. And we have been thinking that the keys of the kingdoms were with database admins or with AWS root account. And in 2026, it kind of seems that keys have like shifted to coding agents. Because when you're running coding agents, these are not running in isolation. They are actually connected to your enterprise live systems through GitHub, CI/CD, your databases. And when these agents run, they actually, in many cases, run on behalf of engineer permissions. And they're running at like machine speed. And then, like I said, like every time you install a skill or a plugin from internet, you don't know what's in that piece of code. It's many times not being reviewed by someone, and it's kind of like running without any proper vetting and proper like audit checks. So really kind of the concern really here is that the blast radius of these coding agents is like significant. So here's kind of where we end up. Developers, they do want a flexibility. They want to use different tools for different tasks. Enterprises, admins are really panicking. They want to make sure like they have visibility, they have unified billing, and they have like guardrails that they can put on those traffic. And the security surface keeps on expanding every time you can install or run an MCP or a skill from internet. And one typical approach really that we have seen is that enterprises would just clamp down on these agents. They would kind of like mandate that use this agent, and they would go ahead and shut down all the other agents. And that's kind of like really, really limiting for developers, like especially if you want to move fast and want to use like many of these like specialized agentic harness. And we also have seen like developers will always figure out a way, and which is even worse because now the problem has kind of gone from visible sprawl to invisible sprawl. So you really cannot restrict your way out of this problem. And one pattern that we have seen over the last year or so is that the industry has been kind of converging on this AI gateway concept, which is kind of very similar to API gateways. So just like with API gateways, you can centralize and govern all the API traffic. We are now seeing a lot that enterprises are now standardizing on this AI gateway, which basically is like a single control plane that you can use to govern all your Gen AI traffic. And we actually, Databricks internally onboarded to AI gateway back in 2023, before we even shipped our first chatbot. I'm not sure if you have been following the story of our AI gateway, but with the latest one, we kind of have made two big changes. First, we have expanded the scope of resources that you can govern with AI gateway. So you can now use it to govern all Gen AI resources, from models to MCPs to skills and to third-party agents. And the other thing that we have done is that we have integrated AI gateway to Unity catalog, which basically means that now you have a central place where you can go and define these policies. For admins, it means that now they have like one control plane where they can go see all Gen AI resources in one place. They can do permissioning, do rate limits, put guardrails. And because all the traffic is kind of going through like one choke point, they get 360 visibility of that traffic. So they can now understand like how developers are actually using Gen AI and what changes they can do to actually improve their productivity. And the other thing that also it helps is just like making sure like developers have access to these models so that they can build agentic apps in a more reliable manner. And for developers, it means a lot of freedom. They can use like different agentic harness, different models, different tools. And because everything also now is cataloged in one location, it also makes it very easy to browse and search and find tools and skills, that plugins that other team members have created. Let me make it a little bit concrete, and I want to show you like a demo of it, and I'll show you two sides to it. I want to show you how developers can use multiple coding agents, and then we'll see how the admin side of the story looks like. So if you kind of log into Databricks workspace, you would see on the left side, left nav, you'll see like AI gateway. And when you click on it, this is kind of like the view that you get. Unity AI gateway actually comes with a lot of models out of the box. So you have like models from all three leading research labs available. But then you can also bring this integrated with external models. That's kind of like a very core concept of AI gateway. It is meant to be provider and model agnostic. Like you can use it with models that are deployed on Databricks or are deployed elsewhere. And the same thing for MCPs. Like you can see all the MCPs that have been provisioned and set up by your platform team. Now, on these models, you can go in and actually you can now do permissioning on it. You can set guardrails, and we support like a bunch of guardrails. Like my favorite one is you can actually set up like custom guardrails, which you can just express in the form of like a prompt. You can do like budgets, you can do like rate limits, and you could do it at a model level, or you could do it at a gateway level, or you can just express it in terms of like some very complex policies. And with MCPs, you can also choose like how you want the auth to work. So you can either use a shared auth, or you can use like on behalf of authentication. And one of our favorite kind of like a feature here is that you can do like very granular governance. So you can say that users can read from Google Drive but cannot write, or only certain people can write to Google Drive. There is like a dashboard that we provide out of the box. You can basically here get like one single pane of glass of how developers are actually using GenAI across your organization. So you can see like usage trends. You can break it down by models, endpoints, users. There's also like a performance tab, which goes deeper into latency, time to first tokens. You can break it down by custom tags, by teams, by users, by service principals. Now, let me show you what the developers actually see. And what you are seeing right now, it basically will log me into the Databricks AI gateway, and then would open like a Claude Code CLI. As a developer, you get everything the same command, same workflow. You don't need to learn anything new. And then you can basically just prompt it. And now all of the traffic is actually now flowing through AI gateway. And all the resources that your admins have provisioned can be actually now used by Claude Code. And then you can also do like models. And when I do model, it basically will tell me all the models that have been provisioned by admins. So again, as a developer, I don't have to now worry about like capacity, entering like, keys and stuff like that. Everything else has been handled by like AI Gateway. Now I could go and actually create like a new terminal, and I could do like something like ucode Codex. And here you can see like easily I've now into Codex CLI. And one thing that you would notice is that I had to do like zero configuration. Everything was pre-configured. I'm using the shared, again, model capacity that has been provisioned by admins. All the tools, the MCPs can also be accessed by Codex as well. One of a really useful thing is that, when you are debugging, you might want to live access this data to see like what this data looks like. And a great way to do that is to use MCPs. And now it kind of will pull the list of all MCPs from that AI gateway. And you can see like there's a bunch of MCPs. There's a GitHub MCP. There's like Lean MCP. And connecting to those MCPs is super easy. I can just add it, and that's it. Now I can access this MCP from all actually coding agents. And this is an open agentic harness. So one of a really cool thing is that it can actually use a bunch of models. It can use models from Anthropic, OpenAI, and Gemini, as well as like some of the open models. Again, you can see that the MCP that I configured, I can access it from within inside OpenCode as well. The other thing that's really useful, other command I want to show you, is you can do like ucode usage, but this can actually show me my token and dollar usage across different coding agents. Here I can like get like a quick view of like how I'm spending my tokens across different coding agents. And one last thing I want to show you is that especially when you move towards like building these agentic apps, you really as a developer want to understand like what's really happening under the hood. Like when you send a response to an agent, what actions the agent took, what was the exact sequence did it follow. So you actually integrated ML flow tracing with this AI gateway. If I click on this one, you can actually see what happened under the hood. So when I send this prompt, these are the actions that the agent took. So when you're trying to debug things, this is super helpful. Like get like very granular breakdown of what actions the agent take, like and what's the latency and token usage of each of these actions. And we know this works because we have been using it for quite some time. Like I said, we kind of onboarded to AI Gateway back in 2023, and we've actually worked with like more than 5,000 customers also to onboard them to AI Gateway. We started with engineering team, but right now all Databricks employees are actually onboarded to AI Gateway, including non-engineering teams as well. So we start everything with like measuring it. We use it, number one, to increase AI adoption within our engineering team. But then we also use it to understand like what can we do to actually make the lives of developers better. The other thing that really helped us is that everyone kind of like leaned in to improve the developer ecosystem here. Even our CEO has been like making changes to the AI gateway client, and then a lot of the teams, engineering teams, have also been continuously making changes. We also have a very, very rich and growing plugin and skills ecosystem, which is connected to AI Gateway. And yes, we did move very fast. And a part of it was that we actually invested in this infrastructure very early. And so that really gave us like a very secure foundation, which enabled us to like, onboard multiple coding agents, multiple models. So now whenever we want to onboard to a new model or a new coding agentic harness, it's kind of relatively easier for us to do that. Before we wrap, one last quick thing I wanted to talk about is I think a lot of the community and providers have been very focused on improving the inner loop. So we have seen like great high quality agentic harness, great editors, fast linters, and that's awesome. Like we all are kind of like benefiting from that productivity gain. But what happens if your inner loop, developer inner loop, gets like 10x faster, but your outer loop remains the same? What about what happens to like code reviews when you can actually get push like 10x more PRs? Like what happens to your monorepo, your CI infra, your observability stack? What about your on-call experience when you are shipping like 10x more features? And what we are currently seeing is that these outer loop components are now becoming bottlenecks for us to ship faster. And they actually kind of, if you look at it, they were created with the perspective that things will ship with developer or human speed. But now we kind of like a pressure testing these things at machine speed. So we have been now thinking a lot like what can we do to actually improve the outer loop? And it's a little bit of a hard problem because unlike inner loop, better model quality or better agentic quality, not always can get improve outer loop. There's a lot of process changes that you have to do to be able to improve the developer loop outer loop velocity. We've seen it can give developers the flexibility to be able to use like different coding agentic harness while giving admins like one central control plane to govern that traffic. And so if that's something you are evaluating or you're facing a similar problem, we'd love to kind of like partner with you. We'd love to like continue having discussion with you and help us like onboard to AI Gateway. Thank you so much.